We're just stuck with these constant annoying problems, but you're entrepreneurs. You make money, you solve the problem, because every single person that gives you money, every person that gives me money, they're trying to solve a problem. And they're just looking to hopefully, whatever the hell it is we're doing can solve some of their problems. Same with you, everything you're doing. So you're trying to solve. See, Doug Brackmann, he helps driven, crazy entrepreneurs that their own talents are also their nemesis. They're all juggling kryptonite all the time, right? And but if these people weren't not driven and having challenges with it, Doug would not have a business. No one would read the book Driven. If people were not looking for real estate, you wouldn't have a business, right? So it's that sort of thing. So your problems are everyone's problems. And when you're talking about vulnerability, Brian, about vulnerability, who was it that said start with vulnerability? Was that Jeff? Jeff? Yeah, Jeff. You both said vulnerability, though. Is that what I've learned also is that which seems most private is most public. All of those problems that we think we're the only ones that are dealing with it, there are tons of people that are dealing with it. They don't know how to put words to it. And it's really shameful at times to actually express it or to think about it. Why is that? Trauma. The thing that often I don't probably have a lot of people always interpret as what I learned. I did an event in 1999 called Transformation 2000. And it was the first time, I don't know, Brian, did I have you at that? I don't think I did. So it was called Transformation 2000. And I had Dr. Nathaniel Brandon, who was the father of self-esteem, an amazing human. He died a few years ago. It was all about like self-help and sort of fix your head sort of stuff. And it was so much harder to sell that event than how to make money. Because if you're like, we're going to teach you how to make millions of dollars, or we're going to give you $1 million, everyone's always going to take the $1 million. Like, even though you could argue that it's a lot more valuable for the term of your life to do this stuff over here. So think of a problem that if you solved, it would solve like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 other problems in your life. Does anyone have an example of a problem that if you could solve it, there's this whole cascade of other problems that would go away that you could say out loud? What would be an example of solved? I talked about sleep as being one of them, but what would be another?
Yeah, my name's Adam, and for me, it'd be learning to turn my brain off.
Learning to turn your brain off.
Which would help sleep better, be more present in my relationships, and create more room for creativity in production in my business.
Wonderful. On Friday is an example, so I'm just going to use this as an example because oftentimes, because we're going to do the tool, then we're going to put you in groups and you're going to talk about it. And then the group, the sounding board, operates as, I've solved this problem, or here's my thoughts and perspective on it, and that's the value of a genius network. So like on Friday, we put up my interview with Dr. Tony Nader. And Tony, Martha McSally was the first one that texted me after she watched it, and she's like, I want to learn how to do TM. He's the guy that runs Transcendental Meditation. Like 40,000 people work for that organization, and so he's the head. So Maharishi literally handed it to him, and so he runs the whole thing. He's the top guy. And so we did an interview, and it's like, this is not a famous person. But he's like one of the smartest meditation people in the world. And we were having that whole conversation of like, the entrepreneur, because I said most of my clients are entrepreneurs. How do you shut your brain off? And there's a whole thing where he actually explains how to shut your brain off, right? And it's not really like shutting your brain off. It's more like, the analogy, which, David Lynch is a big TM meditator. I told this story about, I saw Ray Dalio sitting like, in this VIP area, which I was luckily in because of the level I was at when I went to a TED conference a few years ago. And I know some people that Ray knows personally, so I went up to him and I mentioned these people because that's, I kind of know I wrote a whole book on how to do this sort of shit. And so, but I went up and started talking to Ray, but I asked him, I go, out of all stuff that you've done in your life that you've learned, what do you think is attributed most to not just your financial success, but just you as a person? Because Ray's a pretty smart dude. And he said, by far, Transcendental Meditation. He's like, I've been meditating for 40 years. He goes, that has helped me more with success than anything else I've ever done. And I was like, that's pretty damn interesting, for a billionaire to say out of all the stuff they've done that it was meditation. And so but again, there's many ways to get, like Doug Brackmann. has a very unique, like I would definitely talk to Doug. Have you ever read Doug's book, Driven?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, you got Doug right here, right? And Doug would have a lot of perspective on that. A lot of people here would. Like, how many of you are very busy, active brains? It's hard to shut your brain off. And I would put myself definitely in that category. Okay, yeah. So that would be one. If you solve that thing, there's a whole cascade of other things that would happen. So Jeff, you recently wrote The Entrepreneur's Mind, the brain. What's something that if you solved one problem, it would solve many others that you can think of, or that you've actually figured out how to solve?
Well, mine was very content, a very specific thing, and it's just I have a year of transformation, and I want to zero in on the perfect offer.
It's called a year of transformation?
A year of transformation.
Yeah. And you want to zone in on the perfect offer?
Uh-huh.
Okay. You know that I recently acquired the website, which I've wanted for over 20 years, transformation.com. Yeah. It's a big one.
Well, partner, whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna. Here's the thing, though. I'm gonna really sit on it because I don't want it to be right now it's redirected to Genius Recovery, and I really am going. It's funny. One of the reasons, and it cost a lot to get this site. Oprah
You
wanted.
said that like Trump.
Huh? It's huge. It's huge.
He said it just like Trump. It cost.
No, but it's like Oprah wanted to buy the site but they wouldn't even sell it to Oprah because they didn't want some shitty thing being done with it. So so whatever that means to them. And so, but one of the reasons I acquired it is I really want to think, what the hell does transformation actually mean? Like what? Because I could turn it into some marketing course, which I'm not going to. There's a lot of like monetization things that it's a freaking great name. I mean, I could sell the name for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I know people that would buy it. It's just, but I really is like, it's going to make me really think about, because there's been areas of my life that I've transformed, and a lot of areas of my life where I have a lot of work to do, right? And I really want to just ponder, what does that actually mean? What does transformation actually mean?
What does transformation mean to you, Joe?
Well, no, it means many things, and the reason I'm saying, because I don't want just a canned, I have the ideas where you change form, right? Because I even have like pull up the term transformation, the way that the dictionary defines it, Mike, and put that up on the screen so we can see how, I mean, I think I've transformed my behavior, my thoughts through addiction recovery in a lot of ways, but there's many forms of transformation. You can, let's see what I think we're all going through our forms of transformation all the time. A thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance. If I got a big tattoo, during the life cycle of an animal, the induced or spontaneous change of one element into another by a nuclear process. Yeah, so, but I've always said, I want to be in the transformation business, not the transaction business, but, what does that actually mean? We can think we can transform someone, but do they see it that way?
We can only transform ourselves.
Yeah, well, I think we can transform others too if we're violent or if we're destructive or if we're enormously caring, I think. But but ultimately we are, the one person that we are responsible for is ourselves. And the world is in the middle of a massive transformation right now, good and bad. So. All right, so I'll get off that wagon for now. What's one more problem or that if you solved it would solve many others that you can think of? Because I'm just trying to get the brain thinking so that when you write down what needs solved, you actually don't just solve one thing, you solve many things.
Do you want just like a logistical one?
Could be whatever. Yeah. All right.
Just figuring out.
Hey Joe, I've got one in
there's
mind if
Greg.
you want to pass.
It's okay.
Yeah, let's come to you in a minute. Let's do yours, then we'll come. Is that Russ? We'll come to you in a moment, Russ. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a second. Go ahead.
Oh, it's a logistical one. It's figuring out how to get through the different FDA-like organizations in other countries.
Oh, interesting. Okay, how to get through? Okay, in other
Like
countries.
if you could do it once, you might be able to kind of do a rinse and repeat. If you, like, it's such a huge confusing world.
Yeah, well, this is not going to be the exact same example, but how many of you know Dean Kamen? Okay, Dean Kamen invented the Segway, and so I met Dean years ago, and I've been to his couple. He has an island, his house, and I was talking to him. So he invented this device called the slingshot, and it is it's basically a water purification system that you can put dirty, disgusting, like filled with oil, germs, sewage, into one end, and out the other end comes surgical grade purified water. And this thing will run on for a month on half the electricity to power a hairdryer. So all of these countries in the world that have difficulty with dirty water, clean water, he created a solution for it. The problem was he couldn't get into some of these countries because of bureaucracies. And so, and this is why I have sort of a crazy issue with it, he partnered with Coca-Cola, because Coca-Cola is one of the few companies that can actually get distribution in countries because of all of the which I was like, okay, I go, this is so complex for me. So Coca-Cola positions themselves as a healthcare company, and they license it. It's like so freaking weird. Is that the slingshot? Yeah. And so when you go to certain like restaurants, self-serve, where you like a Chipotle or something. I don't know. I think they have where they have those condensers for sodas. That actually came out of his machine that he created, but they're not. So, and I said, I go, man, Dean, I go, I'm just confused by it, because on one hand, that's great that these water machines are getting to some of these places, but aren't they just going to serve them water so they can get them addicted to sugar water? And he said, he goes, Joe, he goes, if you saw the horrible conditions of some of these places, you would realize, a Coca-Cola is actually a luxury. Didn't answer it in the way that I am still okay with it, but it's just very interesting. But to your point, the key is, okay, if you're trying to get to these places, who already has done it that you can somehow partner with and solve that? Because it's,
Well, and even we've even thought, like, well, maybe we're going about it all wrong. Maybe what we should do is just go start a company in those countries.
Right.
And then we're already in the country, and we're, so it's like, but I'm just wondering if there are people who have, this must have been solved 100 times, at least,
well,
thousands of times, right?
There's that line I say all the time from Anthony Greenback, The Book of Survival, written in 1990. He said, in order to get through an impossible situation, you don't need the reflexes of a Grand Prix driver, the muscles of a Hercules, the mind of an Einstein. You simply need to know what to do. And so whenever I'm faced with, like, this is impossible, someone maybe knows how to navigate. Again, some things you're just not going to do. It's just going to be too hard. The juice ain't going to be worth the squeeze. But for the most part, almost everything that is doable has a answer if you know what to do, or there's a connection that knows how to do it. So hence the whole point is here, I'm not trying to solve anything right now. I'm just trying to say, like, how do you, Dan Sullivan has that line, the problem is not the problem is how you think about the problem. And then up on the wall there, the green one says, what's it say?
If you have enough money to solve it.
Wayne, go ahead and read that one. And throw Wayne a mic if we could. This one's so great because this often, by the way, the reason I have this on the wall is to remind myself.
If you have enough money to solve a problem, you don't have a problem.
Right. So that's from Dan Sullivan. And the greatest problems I like are the ones where you cut a check or crypto or whatever currency it is, and it goes away. So, hey, I hope you're enjoying this video, and I want to let you know that I have a new book that's come out, and if you'd like to get it absolutely free, there's a link below in the description, or you can wait till the end of this video, or you can simply go to joesfreebook.com and you can get a copy there. So a lot of this stuff is like, we're just stuck with these constant annoying problems, but you're entrepreneurs. You make money, you solve the problem. Because every single person that gives you money, every person that gives me money, they're trying to solve a problem. And they're just looking to hopefully, whatever the hell it is we're doing can solve some of their problems. Same with you, everything you're doing. So you're trying to solve. See, Doug Brackmann, he helps driven, crazy entrepreneurs that their own talents are also their nemesis. They're all juggling kryptonite all the time, right? And but if these people were not driven and having challenges with it, Doug would not have a business. No one would read the book Driven. You know, if people were not looking for real estate, you wouldn't have a business, right? So it's that sort of thing. So your problems are everyone's problems. And when you're talking about vulnerability, Brian, about vulnerability, who was it that said start with vulnerability? Was that Jeff? Jeff? Yeah, Jeff. You both said vulnerability, though. Is that what I've learned also is that which seems most private is most public. All of those problems that we think we're the only ones that are dealing with it, there are tons of people that are dealing with it. They don't know how to put words to it. And it's really shameful at times to actually express it or to think about it. Why is that? You know, trauma. You know this, Dr. Don Wood here. But the
what did we talk about? I just my brain doesn't work that well sometimes, but it was about syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. Okay.
Imposter
I thought you were
syndrome.
going to say Trump derangement syndrome.
No,
TDS.
no.
Okay.
I have that. But imposter syndrome is like that because we used to do the boardroom dinners, which you used to attend.
Yeah, they're great.
And we had like the best doctors, the best marketers, these people like the experts and the experts, and they come to the dinner, and they say, "I don't belong here." It's like you have a CV that's 25 pages long. Like, what do you mean you don't belong here? And then we had people who came, when Michael Fishman came to his first dinner, he really didn't belong there.
Right. He doesn't belong here anymore either. We just kicked him out finally after 14 years.
Michael belonged there, and he came to many boardroom dinners, but he never said that when he came, because he got an invitation.
Yeah.
You're invited. And then, if you're there and you play full out and you're vulnerable, you can get so much more out of the group. I mean, we had people who, they're the financial expert who ended up talking about autism because of his son suffering from autism, and he got people in the room to gather around, to come up with a fundraiser for him. I mean, vulnerability, but again, if you come into a room and say, "I don't belong here," that's like the worst thing you can do. So the first vulnerability is you have to look at yourself and say, okay, I'm just going to say I belong here, not because I'm better than everybody. In fact, I may be the stupidest person in the room. It's fine. But you need to know that you belong there because you either paid to be there, which is good enough, or that you were invited. And everybody belongs, basically.
Awesome. And if they don't, we'll kick them out. And by the way, Michael, he was just talking about how you don't belong in the room. Did you hear any of that?
I qualified.
Yeah, no. Brian is a very vicious, hurtful person. I don't know why he has to go there, but he does.
I heard. I resemble that remark.
Totally. All right, Russ, I apologize for that tangent. Russ Palmer.
No, it's totally a great tangent. So you always talk about like a man with this health has 1,000 dreams, and he who doesn't only has one. I just got a new kidney, and so like my biggest problem that I need solved right now is my health is back. So how do I start dreaming and living again?
Wow. Well, first off, congratulations. How long were you in the queue per se, waiting to get a kidney, not knowing if you're going to live or die?
Well, you kind of live through dialysis. There's some treatments. It's not really a good way of living, but from the time I started dialysis till the time I got a kidney was exactly 1 year because my brother donated it to me. So that made it a little bit easier. But typically it could be 5 to 7 years if you're just waiting for a random donor.
Well, I mean, look, through this period of time, knowing you, I mean, without, every time I saw you, it wasn't like, boy, you're going through hell in your life, Russ, but it seemed like I admire you. I mean, you are dealing with some constant, continuous health things, and I'm so freaking happy that you got the kidney transplant, and that's a really big question. I think it's a good thing to reflect on, too. Imagine that you're in a position where you still have to run your business, run your company, raise your family, but you couldn't really dream. And what he just posed here, how do you now approach, I can start dreaming? It's almost like a certain, like a fear or a conditioning of like, I couldn't do this before. Now all of a sudden I can. And how do you approach it? That's a very interesting and kind of awesome question.
It's even been more than that because I knew about this kidney condition and I'd been at really low function for 23 years. So kind of it's always been on my mind that this is gonna have to happen or something's gonna come up, but I had a little bit of time to plan, but it's also limited, like, the dreams, like what can I do? You really have to focus and narrow on like what's important, because, you know, with the kidney condition or whatever, you may not be there. So, but now it's like, there's a lot of energy, a lot of opportunities. Now it's like, shoot, I don't know what to do now.
Have you ever considered like competitive kickboxing, maybe? No, I'm kidding. So yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, well, hopefully the people that we put you in groups with will have some good perspective and insight. But yeah, thank you for sharing that.
One thing, Joe, is I did get kicked out of the Bald Guys Club. You know.
Hair's growing
So
back.
anybody who's bald and wants to know, just a new kidney will probably help.
Wow. So your hair is growing back as a result of a new kidney. Damn.
You know, the doctor said it wasn't, you know, I've had haircuts now and I have to like do my hair and do all that kind of stuff, but yeah. So.
I wonder if it's a genetic. Does your brother have an extra kidney he'd be willing to?
Just one more.
Just one now, so he's not
You know, that is awesome, though. Seriously, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, yes, go ahead, Beck.
I would love to connect you with my dad, which is so random, but he had a liver transplant, and I don't know where to look because you.
Yeah, well, the camera's right here. We'll pick you
I'll
up
look
so
over
that
here
he
so you
can
can
he
see
can see you from the cameras.
He had a liver transplant in 1987, which was like the first year people could survive them. And his dreams, I think, largely revolved around our family. So he wanted to see, I was 10, he wanted to see me graduate high school, then college, then walk my sister and I down the aisle. And he's had to like create new dreams like over the years. He's a really wise guy, high integrity. He might be helpful because, you know, he hits these points in his life where he's like, well, I'd lived long enough to see all the things that I wanted to see, and like, now what? And so he now does these bike trips with my mom. They're still married. They've been through a whole heck of a, sorry, you're over here. So much together, and they're there. Yeah, just, I think it's a process, and he has to keep creating new dreams of what he wants to see in his life. You know, he's retired, and then he's kind of like, now I feel kind of useless, and like nobody needs. So I call him up, and I'm like, we have this problem with, you know, what do you think about it? And, you know, if you're interested, he loves to talk to. I mean, it's not the same organ, but he loves to talk.
That's a much harder one, so no, congratulations to him.
Yeah.
Well, look, if you guys want to connect, then happy to connect you both. We can definitely do that.
He's a good business. He's an ops person, so he's like integrator. He's a great one for that purpose as well. So
Awesome. No, we'll have Mike connect both you and Russ, and then take it from there. So awesome. Thank you.
I'll go because these guys are awesome.
Which way? Wait, who are you talking about?
I had Devin and Brian.
Really? Which one was the least awesome?
No, they're both so good. So good. But without going into all the details, I think we come into this expecting everyone to go, yeah, that's an awesome freaking idea, run with it, do this, do that. And it's not that they didn't do it. The idea I have is good, but they gave me insights to really think, like, do I have the time and attention to put to this new idea?
Right.
Is this a good idea? Could I lose money on it, even though it could be brilliant? It could be $1 million, multi-million-dollar idea. Do I have that time and attention to give to it right now? So getting kind of the other side was as valuable as getting a rah, let's go do it.
Right.
And it made me pause and go, okay, I need to think about that.
Yeah.
I definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
I might need to hire people to help me if I want to move forward and not take it on myself. So it was gold.
How many of you, it just pisses you off when you have to put on pause or slow down on something that you really want to do?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, look, I swear, I think we live in that space a lot. And I can't, I mean, you know, I have to give myself slack because I think I'll probably, you know, and this may not be the best self-talk, I'll probably get myself in these traps all the time unless I am very diligent about keeping people around me. Is that Joel Weldon like watching porn again or something? All right, so I should have never shown him those. Anyway, so it starts with the real innocent meme, and then
Sycophants on a hot seat are death.
What's that?
Sycophants on a hot seat, when you're on a hot seat, are death. That you're just gonna keep going and going. And I'm not saying we weren't.
Well, first off, define the word sycophant.
So basically, I'm going to agree with everything you say, and I'm going to flatter you, and we started. I mean, she's a rock star, right? I mean, that was established at the beginning. So it wasn't about her. It wasn't like, and it happened to be an idea for her stepdaughter. So it was a little distance, but she wants to invest in it.
Right.
So to give her the alternate initially, and I felt like I was being like, Debbie Downer, but I was really trying, and Devin did the same thing. It was all about, asking questions about, like when a copywriter works with a marketer, they're the best interviewers because they have to ask the questions like, why do you want to do this? What is, and we came up with her, if she wants to do it, we came up with the lead for her sales letter because she told a story about her stepson, and it was riveting. And we said, oh, if you want to do this, that's your lead, right? But
the thing is you get, well, so
don't do it yet. Don't do it yet.
No, so here's what I was going to say. Like the trap I get myself into is I like new things.
Yeah.
That's like new things. And I get bored with stuff, and it's like, and there's a dopamine hit. And if you've been around me enough, you've heard me say, whenever I get really overwhelmed, which I'm masterful at if you want to know something where I'm masterful at putting more shit on my plate than I could ever do in a lifetime, and being oblivious to the fact that I'm doing it while I'm in the middle of it, right? But what I've learned through lots of conversations with Sam Karashi is that what causes the most grief for me in my life is saying yes. What gives me the greatest joy in my life in the moment is saying yes. Because if I say yes to something, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that, it does something biochemically to me called dopamine. It's probably the neurotransmitter of anticipation. I get excited. But I am oblivious to the fact that there's all this follow-through that needs to be done, and that I have a mountain of shit already on my plate. But when I'm really stressed out from the mountain of shit on my plate, this new thing makes me forget about the mountain of shit on my plate, and then and oftentimes I want to be accommodating. So people's like, hey, we should talk, or hey, can we do it? And I'll be like, oh, okay. And then Eunice constantly has to remind me, like, dude, do you see your schedule? You can't schedule another appointment with this person. You got 100 people that are trying to schedule stuff with you. So it's like I have a deal with Eunice is like, let me run it by you first before I obligate myself. And just by trying to be nice to people, like they'll interpret it like, oh, we're going to go into business together. It's like, no, I just say, well, try to talk. It's not a business, but But what I've learned though is that if you don't want people that are going to squash your ambitions, but you don't want people that don't have the critical thinking to help you evaluate it. Because we constantly, what does a great copywriter does? They edit.
Well, they have feedback loops of people at their level. Every great copywriter I've ever met, they have to write in with a closed door. Devin brought that up in our meeting. But you have to do it with a closed door because creative in writing copy is not a group effort usually.
Yeah.
It can if you're writing scripts for a comedy show or something like that. But you have to write it alone. Copy is written by committee. However, once it's written, you need people, the best copywriters, Gary Bencivenga, David Deutsch, Paris Lampropoulos.
Yeah.
Every single great copywriter I've ever met runs their copy through a gauntlet, at least one or two, of copywriters at their level or above, and they reciprocate because they're going to tell them the truth. It's like what I said before about John Carlton. Those who don't know John Carlton is one of the great copywriters of all time. He was once a Genius Network member.
Now he's just an old dude.
Now he's just
I talked to him just like a few weeks ago.
I've been in touch with him also. He doesn't want to travel or anything, but he's still as sharp as ever, and he will not. If he would swear by this in terms of having feedback loops. I have these 7 keys to like everything. Every great copywriter copywriter I ever met. It's in my book. You know, the 7 keys to every copywriter I ever met. They have these characteristics, every one of them.
Right.
And one of them is feedback loops. The best, only the best know that they need their copy critiqued by the best.
Right.
And if you're not going to, and if you want to get it critiqued by a bunch of people who are your fans, good luck.
Okay, I hope you found that video awesome and useful. So if you want to get a free copy of my book, I want you to click here. And if you want to watch some more videos that'll be useful and awesome, click here. Go ahead. They're over here. Do it now. Come on. Thank you. Watch them.